Hello, my friend, and welcome to the 537th episode of the Sales Podcast. I'm Wes Schaefer, the Sales Whisperer, your host. Today we have back Mr. Ethan Beute. He was on 428. He's one of the gurus over at BombBomb. They do video email, and it's cool. I've used it for quite some time, and standing out is the key. It's always been the key. When I had him on, it was to discuss his first book, Rehumanize Your Business, How Personal Videos Accelerate Sales and Improve Customer Service. Well, now, 100 plus episodes later, he's got a new book called Human-Centered Communication, A Business Case Against Digital Pollution. So that's what we're going to be getting after. And I love one of his lines. Oh, where was it? I got all my notes here. But he was talking about, people are looking to delete, not connect. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, we're looking to delete versus engage. As you're reaching out to people, you've got to consider that. I just did a one-day consult with a client. We met down in San Diego. He flew his team in. And we spent the day working on, getting inside the mind of the prospects. He goes after very high-end customers. These people have executive assistants. So we looked at how do we connect with that person and sell a very high-end service. And we got into essentially what they call buyer personas. The old adage is you must enter the conversation going on in the mind of the prospect. It was Robert Collier. David Ogilvy said, the consumer or the customer is not a moron. She is your wife. So you can't think of the prospect as being a fool. They may not understand what it is you offer to the degree that you do, but it doesn't mean they're an idiot. You're an idiot for thinking that. You're an idiot if you cannot concisely convey what the heck it is you do and what you offer and why they should listen. So I've used a proven process since at least 2006 to get people's attention, to connect with them, to get to the truth more times than not. Because of this approach, I'm able to reach the decision maker. I'm able to set a mutually agreed upon meeting with a mutually agreed upon agenda. That agenda establishes that it's going to be a two-way meeting, not me showing up and doing a dog and pony. And at the end, they give me a firm answer. It's either a yes, they want to proceed. It's either a no, it's not a fit, or they have to meet with someone else, or they have a process. But I ask that and know that before I go in. So example might be, I meet with a CIO of a hospital. So I used to sell technical computers, servers, software, really high-tech solution that went into data centers. It replaced desktop PCs with a pretty elegant solution. That's the company that actually helped me move out to California. I had the 18 western states. But let's say I talk with the CIO. He agrees to meet. I ask, on a solution like this, who on your team would you bounce this off of? Server side, client side. He'd say yes. Maybe both. I say great. Can we get them in the meeting? Yes. And then so we meet, and I'm like, what are the next steps? And maybe the next steps are, hey, I've got to take this to the board, okay, or I have to take it to the the weekly staff meeting. They get approval. So okay. Because you're not always going to get every single one of the decision makers into every single meeting. It's ideal if you can. You can certainly ask. But let's say, he says, hey, I've got to run this by the board. Say, understand. May I ask, what is going to be your recommendation? And they're going to say, I'm going to recommend we proceed. Fantastic. I'm going to poke and prod as much as I can to find out. Okay, what is it you're going to tell them? This is a complex solution. It's got some nuances. Would it make sense that I attend or call in or maybe, pull me in on a video session when it's time to discuss that during your meeting? Sometimes they'll do that, right? then again, say you've got a smart team and say, no, look, we don't need it. We understand this. We need it. It's the ROI is clear. We're going to recommend that we move forward. And something of this size, it's, yes, we need approval, but it's not so high that it's going to raise any flags. So, we expect this to be approved. So, okay, so when do you have those meetings? Whatever, first and third Thursday of the month. Say, okay, so that's next Thursday. When would you like me to get back in touch? Right after the meeting, the next day, whatever. So he's going to tell me, and then now we have an appointment. Let's say, oh yeah, these things, they go all day. We bring in lunch, we go all day and into the night, blah, 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 whatever. So yeah, give me the next day, or then I play catch up on Friday, so give me that following Monday. Okay. So now I'll nail down a time. So, I call first thing in the morning, I call whatever after lunch. Now I'm not following up. I have an appointment. Okay. But if you're really doing this right, that prospect's going to be excited. I've had them call and text in the meeting, right after the meeting. Hey, it's approved. I'm CCing Joe, and we'll get this thing going. So ideally, that's how things go down. But to even get a foot in the door, to get a chance to have a seat at the table, you've got to make sure that you're engaging, that you're capturing the attention of these prospects. Okay, Ethan talks about, the case against digital pollution. So how are you engaging in the marketplace? How are you showing up? That's what we're going to discuss. If you need some help with that, hit me up. I'm working on these power days. I'll start accepting, probably one a week is probably the most. These things take a little bit of prep, and they're pretty tiring. And I'm traveling a little bit. So, when I say one a week, probably what I mean, like 4 a month. Because on the weeks I don't travel, maybe I can bookend them or do like a Tuesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday sort of thing. We'll see. So not a whole lot, but enough that I should be able to meet the demand. So hit me up if you're interested in that. Go to thesaleswhisperer.com/ I don't even remember. I think it's contact us, but just click the menu in the top, contact us, and give me a call, set up a time. We'll talk, see if it's a fit. Okay. Now let's bring on our guest.
For human, not only can I block that rep for sending me one too many emails, I can block the entire domain. So I am now unreachable, not just to the person that may leave your company in 3 years or in 3 months or in 3 weeks. I'm unreachable by everyone in your organization. In addition, then we also have, if you're spending any time on LinkedIn, you've seen this post and so have I. Hey, I just received this connection request. I accepted it. And then look at this crap that this person sent me. It's this 5-paragraph copy paste sales pitch. Now, if they're really polite, they'll blur out the face and the name. But, this gets to the, farther down. So there's all of this activity is happening in that 97%, but we do not talk about it at all. And the interesting layer here too is that not only like if Wes, someone is reaching out to you and me and we don't care to hear from them and we're just doing this the least, we're ignoring it and we're swiping and deleting. Like takes a second, it takes a second, and in 30 seconds we've deleted 30 emails from our inbox. It's not just that we're training people, the human being on the other end that's swiping and deleting, that our name or our domain or our company name or our brand name are essentially worth ignoring and deleting, not worth paying attention to. Machines are tracking, of course, everything that we do. And so machines will increasingly control who has access to us, when and how and why. We're already seeing that, of course, in contextually relevant Google search results. If I'm on one side of town and I search something, I'm going to get a different result than if I'm on the other side of town searching that. Or our social feeds, right? This happened to us in every social network. We're excited. Oh man, we meet someone at a conference or we meet someone on a call or something like that. We connect on LinkedIn or Instagram or Facebook or whatever. And we see them for a couple of days, but if we don't like and comment on their stuff, they essentially disappear and it's like they don't exist. Machines will increasingly control our ability to reach the customers or the prospects that we want to reach based on their behavior. And we're training them. We're teaching them how to react by whether or not we're giving them something useful that if they open it up, there's some assumption in their brain that says, this should be worth my time and my attention. And if it's not, then you've trained, that's a pattern that is not worth establishing. Cut that relationship, and then you become the swipe delete, and then eventually the unsubscribe or the block. So if we want to reach people, we can't just reach out in selfish and lazy ways anymore, because people and machines are too smart for that. The noise and pollution levels are insanely high and growing. And so, you hear about that all the time. Last thing, you've heard, like, it used to be, I don't know, 5 or 7 years ago, you might know the numbers better than me, but it takes 8 touches in order to generate a response. And now it's like, it takes 19 touches to generate a response. Does it? Does it really take more than twice as many touches, or do we need better touches? Are we going to worship at this like cult of efficiency, or are we going to start being honest about what works and about what's effective? And so these are just choices we can make. But the consequences to our reputation, and I mean that in like the small way and the big way, they're real. And if we ignore them, we're just really limiting our future.
So is it anything new, or is it just, don't abuse the technology just because you can reach me via text or 24/7, just don't be an idiot. I mean, give me my space and be appropriate in your communication.
Okay, that's good. Give me my space and be appropriate. Love it. This is timeless and timely. A couple things about it. I'll talk about the project at a high level, but I'll start with the kind of like the timeless pieces. Yes, some of what you just said is definitely present in this theme, in this conversation, in this book, period. And by this conversation, I mean this broader conversation, not this conversation that you and I are having right now. It's obviously here. But we do talk golden rule, which basically is in every single world religion and philosophical system. Anyone throughout the history of time who's tried to organize thoughts around why are we here and how are we supposed to live has arrived at some version of the golden rule. That is definitely at play here. And so when you say, use common sense, yeah, I mean, I think golden rule fits in there, and yet somehow we violate it all the time. Of course, and there's the platinum rule. So, golden rule is kind of mass treatment or segmented treatment, treat people how you prefer to be treated, or some people say it in the negative, it has a negative treatment to it. Don't do to other people what you don't like having done to yourself. But then there's also platinum rule. The technology is set up for us to deliver platinum rule treatment, which is treat others as they prefer to be treated, right? In our CRMs, we've always had the ability to keep notes in different ways. And then increasingly, there are layers of intelligence or ways of equipping our sales reps or our service reps to see everything about the account the minute we come into interaction with them. And we can quickly get information that helps us treat them as they prefer to be treated. And so there are timeless elements to this, which is like, I'll give you another one. Here's a quote from Howard Luck Gossage. I think he was an old ad guy, like in the Mad Men era. And it's, people read what interests them. They don't read advertising, they read what interests them. And sometimes that's an advertisement, right? Yep. So this isn't stop sending mass emails. This is stop sending mass emails to people who have no reasonable expectation of hearing from you, or who, don't fit the criteria. Here's a better way to do it. Go to the CRM. If this is true, this number falls between this range, and these two things are false. Yep. Send this message automatically. You could make the message once and it could go to 100 people or 1,000 people or 100,000 people, but because it has some level of intention, love it. So good.
For those of you not watching the video, I have the book of Gossage.
So I did not know that book exists. I love it because before we hit record, you're talking about how you just kind of rearrange bookshelf.
I know where my stuff is now, man.
Love it. It's so good. And it's so true. It's like people don't read ads. People read what interests them. And sometimes it's an ad.
Right.
And so that's to say this gets to relevance. It gets to context. It gets to serving people. And so we have the tools to go essentially to where markets seem to be going, which is markets have won. It's difficult. We're caught somewhere in between, but we're definitely in this 200-year walk away from the Industrial Revolution in general, and we're in this 100-year walk away from Henry Ford's assembly line. If we look at how we're doing sales and marketing today and service, you'll definitely see elements of an assembly line approach. But that's breaking down. Technology is supporting that. So again, it's timeless, it's timely. To the project piece, there's this right tool for the right job aspect of it. And Steve is my longtime friend and team member, chief marketing officer here at BombBomb. I've worked with him for 7 years, known him for almost a dozen. And we interviewed in depth 11 different people on this. And so we do get at contemporary thoughts on how this is manifest strategically and tactically day to day. So there is new stuff in here. There's a lot of new stuff in here, but it is based on timeless truths.
I love it. Yeah. Howard Luck Gossage, man. You might be the first guy in 540 interviews to mention Howard Luck Gossage.
Yeah. And so here's a funny thing. Like, you could pick up tell me about this, Wes. Are there things that you can read in here today that you read whenever you got it, probably years ago, and they seem timeless?
Yep.
And he writes about it in a specific era, but it's still equally true today. And there's still people violating some of his hottest truths.
Oh yeah. All the time. And I prefer working with big timeless principles, so I can be lazy.
Yeah. Well, and so that's the thing. Like, there's a reason that every single religion and philosophical system is landed at some version of the golden rule. It's because that's how this works. That's trust. It's reciprocity. It's serving social creatures as social creatures. Like, that is a timeless truth. And when we violate it, we tend not to serve ourselves and other people well.
Yeah. I like this, headed toward a market of one. I mean, I'm working with a guy right now, and we're trying to figure out how tightly to drill down. We have a proven model. It's successful, but it's like, okay, can we make it better? And one of the things, like, we're putting on an event, it's a higher end event. It's not for everybody. We need to sort and sift by income. But we have found, guys don't always put the right answer, and it's a men's conference, so I can say guys. But like, can you be too picky? Can you refine this too much? How do you know, like, how wide to cast the net versus drilling down to this market of one?
Yeah, market of one is a process. I mean, there's no way that we can go out blindly into the world and expect to treat people as they prefer to be treated. But when we have customers or potential customers, when they are kind enough to give us their time and attention and information, right? That's the exchange. Typically, we're giving information away. We're sacrificing some degree of our privacy in exchange for better treatment, more personal treatment. And so often we collect information and then we don't use it. Now, the question that you're asking is the more difficult and challenging one, which is, can I trust this information? Did this person give me specific and helpful information so that I can serve them better? Or did this person mislead me a little bit because they don't fully trust me yet, right? Why would someone lie about their income? Well, they might lie in order to make it look better, or they might lie in order not to be, I don't know what the motivation would be. I guess that's very specifically contextual, but if you have a lot of false information in some of these spots, there's an insufficient, two problems there probably. One is insufficient trust. And the other one would be the value exchange is not clear. I'm not certain, or I'm not clear, or I do not understand, or you have not expressed clearly enough for me why I should give you this information. Because if there's enough basic, and these are all levers, they're multiple levers, and we're never going to be perfect, but if we can get enough trust and it's clear enough why I should tell you whether or not I make over $250,000, then I'm more likely to give you the right answer, which then allows you to serve me better and validate the fact that you are trustworthy and to validate the idea that there is value here for giving you that information. But it's all kind of push and pull. So that's another key point that you bring out here, by the way, or that just came to mind because of what you just pulled out of me in terms of the conversation is even if we are putting other people's needs and wants and interest on a level playing field or on equal footing as our own, even if we are reaching out in highly targeted and relevant ways, even if we're above board on everything that we do and we think we're doing our best and we're getting customer feedback that validates that we still have to know that we're engaging people in noisy and polluted environments. And so even if our name and our face and our brand name are associated with love these people are quick to respond, these people are so helpful, I'm so glad I came into contact with these people. Like when you reached out to me, Wes, and were like, hey man, saw the new book, would love to be in a conversation about it. I'm like, hell yeah, totally. I had a great time with you the first time, you guested on my podcast. Like, yes, easy, yes. But even in that environment, you're reaching out to people and reaching them in an inbox or a LinkedIn message box or by phone. If I don't have your, name associated with your phone number in my phone, like it's a noisy and polluted environment. And so most of us are a little bit overwhelmed. We're looking to delete more than we're looking to engage. We have a limited amount of time, a limited amount of attention. And so in this space, we don't always get the attention that we deserve. And again, I'm speaking to those people that are like on the up and up and doing things in a conscious and intentional and a targeted way. You're not going to get the attention that you deserve. You are going to be put in the spam box, even if you don't deserve to be. It happens to me all the time. I use Gmail, like bombbomb.com is a Google Apps domain. So we all use Gmail. I will always eyeball my spam folder because I see replies to like it's the third reply from someone that still winds up in the spam box. And so we have to know that if someone doesn't get back to us, it might be because they didn't see us. If someone gives us the wrong information, it might be because we weren't clear enough on what's in it for them and these types of things. People's trust in general in all things, institutions and everything is pretty much I don't know about you, but I feel like it's as low as it's been in my adult lifetime since I've been paying attention to trust in a variety of institutions, roles, and systems. And that affects the way that people engage with the things that we put in front of them. So even if they do want to hear from us, they don't always get the things that we're sending.
Yeah, I know. Have you seen like a proven way to cut through the clutter? I mean, are you doing like mixing in some direct mail, or are people answering their phones now, or is it just a little bit of everything?
Good one. Yeah. I mean, it really is about having the right tool for the right job. Like in the book, we do talk a lot about video. The first book, Rehumanize Your Business, which you're kind enough to mention off the top, is essentially the guide to the what, why, who, when, and how of video emails and video messages. This one goes much broader than video email and video messages, and it goes deeper into human connection, at some level, psychology and evolutionary psychology, which I've hinted at in this conversation already, like how we make the decisions that we make, and then how to use the right tools for the right jobs. I do think these days, the most successful people I'm hearing from are using, and now we're talking, I feel like we're talking about prospecting in particular, which is the hardest thing to do in sales in a lot of ways. I'd be curious to know what you think about that statement.
It's true.
It really is about using multiple channels because again, we can't do this markets of one because we don't know these people and they don't know us. So we need to use multiple channels. And the hot tip here is make the channels talk to each other. So for example, if you're using video emails and voicemails, because most people are not answering their phones, especially not if it's not a recognized phone number. In the voicemail, you say, hey, this is why I'm reaching out to you. And I'd love to know if you're interested, or, typically an interest call to action has been shown to produce better replies than a direct call to action. I'll share more on that in just a moment. But in the voicemail, you reference the fact that you're going to be in their inbox with a personal video. And in the video, you greet them by name, again, explain why you're reaching out to them, what's in it for them, and say, I'm the dude that left you that voicemail. Just want to put a face with a name. Love to know if you're interested in X. And so this interest call to action is another tip. So that tip was make the different things talk to each other. If you are doing direct mail, refer to the email campaign or refer to the special landing page that you made or whatever the case may be. Make these things talk to each other so it becomes this more consistent thing instead of each piece working on its own randomly and you just hope that one piece works. Make them work a little bit more together. So that's one tip. This other one on interest calls to action versus direct calls to action comes from Gong. I think it's gong.io. Yep. Did a bunch of research, and especially in prospecting, so many of us are trying to do these direct calls to action, which are, pick a time on my calendar, or, reply with this information, or go fill this thing out. The interest call to action is, does this seem like something worth talking about? Would you be interested to learn more? And so this really, and the thing that you're doing there is making it really easy. Going to someone's calendar has multiple layers of micro yeses that are required before someone actually schedules. Replying with just a simple yes or a simple no. By the way, you're not going to get yes or no. You're going to get yes and or no but. You're going to get these kind of qualified things. So you're going to get more information so you can serve people more personally and more effectively. The interest call to action is just easier to do for the other person. So again, that's another theme here, is make things easy for people. Why did I get this? What's my opportunity? How do I proceed? I mean, that's kind of a timeless principle. I'm sure that some version of that is in Gossage's book.
Yeah. I love it. I coined the phrase, make every sale. And, I say, to make any sale, you must make every sale.
Yes.
Because that's the concept, because people are like, oh, and I let it weed them out. I say, learn how to make every sale. The 5 proven steps to make every sale. Are you saying everybody you talk to, you close? I'm like, you're projecting that. Yeah. Right. Then I explain, everything is a little tiny yeses. These little, everybody goes for the kill. They go for the jugular. It's like, hey man, let's go get some coffee first.
Totally. It's so funny. I mean, we see that all the time. We see, and that's another thing. I see this all the time. So I've been at BombBomb for a decade full time, which is crazy. And at some point a few years ago, it seemed like as video messages were becoming more mainstream, that they were becoming synonymous in some circles with video prospecting, which is just such a small, tiny view and a tiny treatment of the opportunity that video messages represent. And so people go for the kill with a video message. It doesn't work because it wouldn't work no matter what you're doing. It doesn't work. You're not going to go for the kill with a voicemail. You're not going to go for the kill with a text email. You're not going to go for the kill with a direct mail, unless it's something that costs like $20 or less and is highly transactional. And you need to sell like 400,000 of them to even start making a successful move. People go for the kill with all kinds of things. So people were trying to go for the kill with a video message. And of course it didn't work. And so it's video messages problem, right? It's not a human psychology problem. It's not a communication design problem. It's not a sales process problem. It's not a discrepancy with human evolutionary psychology problem. It's the video. It's video's fault that this doesn't work. And it's so funny. I love that language, every sale, because the thing is, not every sale is equal, but all of it is about momentum. With each, tell me how you teach to this. Each yes gives you a little bit more momentum to another yes, but some yeses on the path are bigger than others, and you need more momentum going into it. And so in some cases, if someone ghosts you for a while, you can't keep pressing on that next yes. You need to kind of like double back and get a little bit more yes momentum to build up to that bigger yes. So I love that philosophy.
Yeah, I love what you're talking about, selling CRMs and, marketing automation for years, right? Since 2006, 2007. People always want to blame the platform. And I'm like, dude, it works for all these other people. But like most of the time, they don't have a process. They think this magical tool is just going to be magical and solve all these problems. And I'm like, you're still delivering a crappy message. And the worst thing to do is to get very good marketing tools and techniques to deliver a mediocre message. You're just going to accelerate telling the world how average and ordinary and forgettable you are.
That's it. Again, like every message that you're sending is training people to open or delete your next message.
Yeah.
And so if you get a machine that allows you to like blast them out in rapid order, you're going to teach a lot more people a lot more quickly. That really gets to what you just shared there, Wes, gets to Steve's motivation. The first book was my idea. This one was Steve's idea. And, one of the key premises is that a lot of people think that it's about video, but it's not about video. It's about you. It's about your motivation. It's about your intent. It's about your ability to communicate well. It's about your sincerity. It's about your enthusiasm. And it's about the person on the other side of the screen, whether it's a live video call, a Zoom call, Microsoft Teams, whatever, or whether it's a video message with BombBomb or any of our competitors. So many people think that it's about the tool. So many people think that just by flipping the camera on and firing the software up, it's going to work for me. And it may, but it very well may not. And especially not if you're taking the same crappy text emails and then reading them off your screen, not even making eye contact with the person and expecting it to magically be better. You can we're still early enough in the adoption of video messaging that the novelty alone will get you a little bit more benefit than a faceless typed out email, but you can't take crappy messages that people wouldn't respond to in any case, put them in a new format and expect it to do wonders. Same thing. You couldn't take a crappy email, put it on a postcard, blast it to 100,000 offices and expect it to dramatically outperform the emails.
Yep. What have you seen? I mean, it's been a couple of years, COVID hit. Has there been a shift? Are there changes in how people communicate that you could recommend?
Yeah. Okay. So I think everyone would recognize this, but the fact of the matter is so much of our adapted behavior forced by the pandemic, we're not going to go back on. Some of it super benefits sellers. Some of it super benefits buyers. And in a lot of cases, it benefits both. And especially where it benefits both, we're not going back. Next layer is whatever benefits the buyer, we're probably not going back. If it benefits the seller, we may keep trying to make it work, but it may or may not, return. Or we may not restore like how we used to do it before. And so the problem is we're doing more sales and service in digital, virtual and online environments than ever before. The transition was rapid, but we don't understand how to adapt. You very well know, Wes, from your years of selling and serving, that an in-person meeting is not the same as a Zoom meeting. There are differences, there are subtleties, there are nuances, there are shortcomings, there are things, but we just show up on these calls like we're in the office, but hey, since we can't be in the office, or hey, since this is only a $25,000 sale, not a $250,000 sale, I'm not going to get on an airplane and spend the day with you and take you out to a nice steak dinner. We're going to do this by Zoom. We turn our cameras on and just show up. And so, or we keep imagining that this is temporary and we're not going back. So I guess the two things I'm saying here are, one, a lot of what we experienced is here to stay, period. It's more effective. It's more cost effective. People like it better, whatever. And the more both sides like it, the more likely it is to stick. But it's not just about flipping the camera on and firing up the software. There are things that we can be doing to overcome the shortcomings, the visual and emotional impoverishment that these spaces have, the fact that it turns our emotions down dramatically. We can look super bored, even though if we were in the same conference room, I wouldn't look bored. I would just look like I was listening. But on a video call, it sucks some of our emotion out. So it reads like we're bored to other people. There's simple things we can do to make it a better experience for our team members, for our prospects, for our customers, or for anyone else that we're spending time with in these spaces. Same thing with video messaging. I think a lot of people came to video messaging because of this acute need to be more present with people without having to schedule meetings. And they might be, some people are already saying like, oh, now that I'm getting back together with people more often, I don't need it as much. That's simply not true. That this belongs in the mix with our direct mail, with our emails, with our text messages, with our Slack messages, with our LinkedIn messages. There are opportunities to do this, and there are opportunities to do it well. And it's because it's based in timeless principles, like why people say yes. To your micro yes thing, and then I'll stop talking at you. To the micro yeses and the medium yeses and the macro yeses, Macro yes being something like a signed contract. Micro yes being like, yeah, I'll make that introduction, or yeah, I'll fill out that survey, or yeah, I'll reply to your email. So much of that is based on your intent. Do you care about me? Do you have my best interests in mind? Do you believe in what you're saying? Like, do you sincerely believe that you can help me? That's what people want to know. That's part of what makes people able to make a safe, healthy choice for themselves to continue proceeding down the yes chain or up the yes ladder, because it's work to get up the yes ladder to the ultimate yes. And so when we're in these digital, virtual, and online spaces, and we continue to rely on faceless typed out text, we're not giving people the intent data that they naturally need and want through millennia of evolution to make a good, healthy, safe choice for themselves. And the bad news for sellers is if you don't give them that information by using some video now and then, which captures and conveys your motivation and intent better than any other digital format, they're going to fill in the blanks because their brain wants those blanks filled in. And the bad news for you is that they don't fill it out in your favor. They fill it out in a defensive, protective way. And so they assume the worst. This is why it's more difficult to get attention. This is why it's more difficult to build trust. And this is why trust is more fragile than ever. And that'd be a caution to being so virtual in our sales motion, is that virtual relationships degrade over time and they're more difficult to build from the get-go. So again, approaching them just like everything else is normal, we're not going to get to where we need to because it's a different environment than it was 2 years ago.
Do you think trust is more fragile than ever?
It is, and trust virtually is absolutely more fragile than trust in real life.
Sure.
And we all know this is intuitively true. Wes, if you and I had done our 2 previous podcasts together in person, got together in the same space, it'd just be a different dynamic. And these in-person meetings, so this comes to another idea. I picked this one up from Dr. Nick Morgan, who wrote an awesome book called Can You Hear Me? How to Connect with People in a Virtual World. He actually wrote it 4 or 5 years ago, but it got a second life due to the pandemic, and rightfully so. It's a fantastic book, and it blends his career's work, which is in human-to-human communication. We need to punctuate our digital and virtual relationships with real in-person moments. Now that it's becoming more common and acceptable, socially acceptable, politically acceptable to get together with people, the relationships that matter most, whether it's with your team members, you're a remote, virtual, distributed team. Those words are not all interchangeable, but I just used them as such. Or whether it's with some of your top customers, we should all know who our top 10 customers are. We should make a point to see them in person, because what that does is essentially fill the reservoir back up. And then as time passes, we all know that the reservoir is drawn down. And as we exclusively rely on digital communication, the reservoir further draws down. And so just that natural drawdown without filling it back up, it definitely makes trust more fragile. And it makes relationships degrade over time.
Yeah.
So we need to find the time and make the time to get together with people in person.
It's funny. I was just telling my wife, we were out at dinner the other day, and she's from California and I'm from the South, but it's like, she's more of a Southerner than me. Like I've been virtual for so long, right? I was selling from home in my shorts before it was cool.
Yeah.
I don't like traveling. I don't like small talk. I don't like whining and dining. Like I'm very just like, are we going to do business or not? Right? Like you got an itch. This thing I have scratches that itch. What the hell's the holdup? Why do I have to take you to a game to no, I'm not buying your business, So it's, that's why I asked. Like, I feel like maybe I'm just jaded, right? I feel like trust has always been low, but maybe it's just me.
Yeah, well, it has. I'm speaking of like deep evolutionary psychology here. I mean, there's a reason you and your wife went to dinner instead of, you're in one room and she's in the other room and you're on FaceTime eating at the same time. Right? It's not the same experience.
Well, and my wife's so funny. She gets all these deals, right? She's got gift cards. And, if you buy $100 of this, you get $10 bonus. And like literally they just sit there. I'm like, we're going to go use all these cards And we went, and sure enough, the $10 had expired, right? Because we sat on it for so long. And, the price of the steak went up 50%. And fortunately, we had a friend of our son's from high school who was the bartender. So he's like, he took the appetizer off. So I'm like, yes, we're winning here. But I'm like, we're going to
there's your $10 back.
I know, man. We got $13 back.
Nice.
But yeah, it's so funny. We hold on to those. She's so frugal. I'm like, honey, no, I'm getting an appetizer.
So funny, funny side note here. So I, REI, outdoor clothing and gear and stuff. So they gave me an offer that was like, get bonus, credits if you buy something full price this weekend. And there's actually something I needed and wanted. I'd had my eye on it for a while. And so I was like, I'll just buy it. So now I have $14 that expires actually today. And I don't need anything.
And you got to go buy something. So you feel like you're getting ripped off.
Yeah. Well, am I going to go buy something in order to cash in that $14, which I know expires today, but I don't really need it. And so even that is this kind of behavioral science, economic decision-making trap. It's like, am I going to forego the $14, or am I going to waste $50 in order to capitalize on the $14 to get something I don't need? It's so funny.
I know. Well, so many of them, they count on breakage, right? They count on people buying something and losing, which I think is kind of crappy, but I
would guess that there are millions of dollars in gift cards sitting in email inboxes or junk drawers around America alone, unused, or balances, right? Like that $2.37 balance.
I know it's crazy, but hey, people do it. Oh man. Well, we could talk forever, but I gotta work in 8 minutes. Can you believe that?
I can.
Who was scheduling my Mondays? Oh, I'm gonna have to fire myself. But so you've got a cool URL for your new book, right?
Yeah, it's really simple. It's just bomb.com/book. It's just the word bomb twice, bomb.com/book. You can see both human-centered communication and Rehumanized there. And of course, Amazon and all the other book places. You can just search it by title.
Yep. So I am linking to that. And yeah, your second book is right there as well. Very convenient. And everybody check out bomb.com. Do some video messaging. Don't be like these lazy people. Okay. Say the name. Well, you remember Breaking Bad? Say my name.
Yeah, totally.
I get all these videos and I can tell because I've been in it long enough. They are pretty slick, but they don't say your name. Hey, I just wanted to reach out. So I know it's a bulk message.
Yeah.
So
we could do another 30 minutes on that topic and ways to handle that deftly and what not to do. In general, this is another timeless one that we'll end with. Don't act like things are something other than what they are. I hate when things pretend to be something that they're not. And like you said, it gets better and better, but as the tech gets better and better, or the means of faking things gets better and better, so does the human BS detector, where it's just, it's like the fool me once, fool me twice, and then shame on me scenario thing. I forget how that all goes, but it's like, it doesn't take long for humans to adapt to these tricks and hacks and these potions and these cheats and all this other stupid stuff that we waste our time with. Just come straight at, like you said, you have an itch. I have something that can scratch it. Would you like to talk about that? Or in the immortal words of Ron Swanson on Parks and Rec, I have an apple. Would you like to buy one? That's it. Just play it straight, man. Because again, this is about reputation. The more you try to hack and cheat things and make things seem as if there's something other than what they are, the more humans will see through it and the less trust you have. And hence we go in this downward spiral of trust.
Yep.
Anyway, I appreciate you. Thanks for hosting me again.
All right, Ethan, all the way from Colorado Springs, man. Hey, I'm coming up next year for my 30-year reunion. So at a minimum, I'll see you by then. All right.
Sounds good.
And we lost the Army this weekend. All right. I got to end on a high note. Great seeing you. Have a great day, man. The case against digital pollution. How you like them apples, huh? Like he says, it is subjective based on the recipient. They do it in the moment. That's what they do. They delete your stuff. They mark it as spam. And, people don't change. The medium has changed. Look at how you sort your physical mail. even, you go to one of those, like an apartment, they'll have a mail room, or a big bank of mailboxes. There's always a trash can right there. People sort their mail right over the trash can. They do the same thing with the digital communications. They do it with, I can't believe how many text messages I get, and I'm blocking and reporting. It's unbelievable. So your relationships, your reputation, and your revenue are at risk. When you look for that shortcut, when you get greedy, it will come back and bite you in the butt. Yes, you can get a short-term win, but are you in this for the short term or the long term? I was with my client this past week, and they asked about, the approach and the mindset going into this. And I always have folks draw this out. I spoke in Dallas 2 weekends ago and did the same thing. I have people draw a pipeline, right? They usually draw it horizontally, left to right. I say draw some arrows going in, some arrows coming out. Now draw a funnel, right? Wide at the top, narrow at the bottom. Draw some arrows going in the top, fewer arrows coming out the bottom. That's typical things that we think of, and they're valid. Having a sales pipeline, having a marketing funnel, those are valid concepts. But the problem with those is that they are one direction. Okay, so I then have them draw a circle. All right, draw a circle with an arrow. So just like a clock, right? You go from 12 all the way back around to 12 and draw an arrow at the top there. And then around that clock, starting at 12 and going clockwise, draw A, B, C, D, E. And I talk about the A, B, C, D, E's of selling: attract, bond, convert, deliver, endear. And by conversion, I mean the actual cash, the transaction, the customer, the close. And this is the mindset difference that I teach. And that if you master it, it'll change your approach and how you sell forever, for the better. But most amateurs, when they get to the cash, they think they're done. They think their job is done. They take the money and run. Professionals sell through that transaction. They continue supporting their customers now. And the analogy I always use is, on your wedding day, is the dating and the courtship and the relationship, is it over? Or has it really just begun? Right? So once the customer buys, now you deliver a wow experience. You delight them. When you do that, then you endear yourself to your customers. When you do that, now you're back at the 12 o'clock position. Now you're attracting them back to you, and you're attracting their friends, because birds of a feather really do flock together. So that's the difference, is thinking through how every step, the attraction, the bonding, the conversion, the delivering, the delighting, the endearing, how it all ties together, and it's never ending. Like, look at Apple. They got their foot in the door with most people with the iPod. People that never owned an Apple product. Then the iMac got a lot of attention. Then obviously the iPhone. And then now they got you, right? The iPad came out actually on my 40th birthday. My wife got it for me. I got the iPhone a few months after it was released in 2007, actually after they did the $200 price drop. But we have AirPods, AirPod Pros, Apple Pencils, iPads. I'm recording this on an iMac. I've got a MacBook Pro. I've got an Apple Watch. Kids have Apple Watches. I mean, on and on and on. They've mastered that, continuing to deliver and delight. So what are you doing in this digital world, to stay in touch, to stand out? Follow that golden rule and that platinum rule. If you need some help tightening things up, finding your voice, if you've lost the voice, and it happens, you get distracted, get too busy, your mind gets too cluttered, you listen to too many people, trying too many things. The real key is cutting back and focusing. That's what I'll help you do. So hit me up. Go to thesaleswhisperer.com. go to the contact us, and we'll figure out a time to talk. All right? Thanks for listening. I'll go sell something.